Hello, everyone, and welcome back to RoomPack's ResEdChat podcast. My name is Dustin Ramsdell. Every episode, if you're new to the show, we feature a variety of topics that are of interest to hired professionals who work in and with university housing, residence life, residence education, whatever you might call it. Today is another sort of like 101 kind of episode, an explainer, if you will, on the ACPA Commission on Housing and Residence Life, or the CHRL. So this is something that we're just kind of exploring what this kind of body is, what it does, how to get involved, some reflections of folks that have been kind of intimately involved in this commission for a period of time. So we'll start as we always do, though. We have a returning guest, so feel free to introduce yourself again, DeAndre, and a new person joining us. We'll start with you, DeAndre, if you want to kind of introduce yourself and your professional background briefly, and then we'll go over to you, Leah, before we just talk more about the CHRL.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dustin, and thank you, RoomPack, for having us. I am Dr. DeAndre Taylor. I am currently the Director of Housing and Residence Life at the University of Wisconsin Parkside, and I currently serve as the chair for the Commission for Housing and Residential Life through ACPA.
All right. Well, hello. My name is Dr. Leah Shaw, and I am chair elect for the Commission for Housing and Residence Life through ACPA. And then in my day job, I serve as director of Residence Life for University Housing at Kent State University.
Perfect. And just so, in case folks aren't kind of up to speed on the Commission for Housing and Residence Life with ACPA, DeAndre, since you're the current chair, I'll let you kind of explain the quick little elevator pitch of like what the commission does, sort of like why it exists, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah. So since 1962, the Commission for Housing and Residential Life has been a commission within ACPA. Now, we didn't start having commissions until some years later, but we've been around in ACPA since 1962. And we are exactly what that is in terms of what commissions do. We provide leadership to ACPA and our profession in general, for student development in college, university, residence hall settings. So that's through knowledge sharing, that's through support, resource sharing. That's making sure we can recognize the great work that our colleagues are doing across the globe within housing and residential life. And so we're just that catch-all for our profession, university housing and residence life, to make sure that we're supporting our colleagues, whatever they may have. Right? We meet our constituents where they are. Sometimes it could be senior level focus. Sometimes it could be mid-level focused. Sometimes it could be entry-level focused. And so when we think about the makeup of the commission, we like to make sure that we have all voices represented to make sure that we're being that support, knowledge base, and resources for our colleagues across the globe.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what, like, in sort of a big tent organization like ACPA, it's like obviously residence life is always going to be a big part of the campus experience for any institution. And I think, yeah, like you said, it's like obviously there's all the different kind of tenures of folks that would be sort of in those spaces, private, public institutions, and just like the type of residence halls or the scale of what we're talking about, at the institution. So yeah, obviously no shortage of things to talk about, and important group to be getting together to talk specifically about this work and how impactful it is on student experiences. So we'll talk or start with you, Leah, for this question of how you each got involved. Your chair elect. I'm sure there's a whole story that brought you to this moment of being chair elect of the CHRL. So regale us with this story.
There's always a story, Dustin. So I first began my involvement with CHRL, I want to say in 2013. I was looking for a way to deepen my involvement with ACPA. At a staff member who was actually had a couple of staff members who were involved with the commission. And so I decided to put my name up to be elected into the directorate body. And so I did that. Like I said, I think I first started in 2013, served as a vice chair for the commission, and then life changes happened, found myself outside of residence life. Thank you for bringing me back into the fold for some years. But then once I got back into housing work, decided to, again, wanting to kind of reignite my involvement with ACPA. And I think the most beautiful thing about ACPA are the commissions and the work that they do. And so found myself back on the directorate body for ACPA. And I thought about it while we were at convention this year, and I felt like this will be a good next step for me. I, you know, it's something that I had aspired to be in terms of being a future chair of the commission. And so I'm like, now's a good time for me to see if I'm elected to this role, then it was meant for me to be in it. And it just so happened that I was. And so excited about the work that we're doing and excited about what the future might hold.
Yeah, and I think that's like what before we go to you, DeAndre, like just the reaction of like I think for me too, like in organizations like something like an ACPA, like again, it's a very big tent. You have to kind of try to find your kind of corner, your niche of that space. And I think for me, like I've found that yeah, like trying to really like go deep on like your interest in getting involved in maybe some kind of structured or formal capacity uh is a great way to do that, I guess, versus just sort of feeling like you're like just kind of floating around in that space and just like, oh no, maybe I'll collide into something or someone or whatever, like, is sort of meaningful or whatever. Like, it's like, oh no, I want to be a part of the commission and I would like to be a part of the directorate. I want to, have that feel more structured because I think it's like, you were even mentioning like for one reason or another, people who are earnestly interested in getting involved with these sort of things, like life can get in the way or, work can get in the way. So if you have something that feels like it kind of anchors you to being like, okay, well, I have to like attend board meetings in some frequency, or I have to, deliver on something. So, yeah, that's my, I guess, reaction or sort of reflection on what you were saying. But DeAndre, how did you end up getting involved and becoming chair of this commission?
Absolutely, and I would say that's one thing that I really truly appreciate with ACPA is that it creates pathways for its members to get involved within the organization. If you've ever gone to ACPA, we have what we call Celebrate ACPA. Now that term and the name of that event has evolved over the years, but it's really a huge showcase on how its members can get involved. And so I really appreciate that because as an entry level professional, I guarantee you when you attend your first convention, or when you attended your first convention as well, you saw a pathway for you to get involved within ACPA. So that's my quick shout out to ACPA. Thank you for the work that our wonderful leaders and international offices doing. For me, with getting involved with CHRL, so I had a wonderful supervisor who's still a mentor of mine to this day, Dr. Laura Arroyo, and we were at an institution together. She was my direct supervisor, and I had never gone to ACPA. So in 2017, in the beautiful city of Houston, as many say, Beyonce's hometown, I attended my first convention, and I had no other choice but to attend CHRL because Laura at the time um, was either she was just a past chair, she was just going off her chair position, but nevertheless, that's how I got involved with it, and I saw just a clear pathway. Obviously, I was working in housing and residence life. That had been and still is my professional area of expertise, but that's how I got involved. Laura has been a great support system for myself. Um, um, and so just following her footsteps and just say, yeah, I want to do it. And I met some incredible people, some incredible people that were doing great work within housing and residence life. And so from there, no one, for me, I should say, I'm not going to speak in generalities in that sense, but for me, I never thought, well, can I be chair? Possibly, maybe not, but I knew I was committed, right? I knew I was committed to the profession, and it just happened. And I do think it's a great opportunity, and I want to give a shout out to Brandon Howard, who is our immediate past chair, and he led our commission through a pivotal time. As a matter of fact, I'll give a shout out to all past chairs who led their commissions through the pandemic. It was a different time. It was a different way of engaging the constituency, and so I want to give a shout out to Brandon because he allowed CHRL to continue to thrive, and that gave me the spark to say, "Hey, what D? I think you can. I think you might want to throw your name in the hat to allow CHRL to lead CHRL in that next iteration of what it may become."
Yeah, and Laura, a friend of the show, she was on a past episode a little while back, and it was a great one. And yeah, and I think that idea of sort of the personal connections through something like this obviously are super impactful, and just seeing other folks kind of model the way, especially like you're saying, like through the pandemic. Like I'm involved in my alumni association for University of Delaware, where I'm for undergrad, and like there's some people who are on that board during the pandemic, and it's like they're just they're able to show such a like stark contrast of like, oh my gosh, it's like it's night and day of like obviously we were doing like no programming, no events to like engage alumni or whatever else. We're just like looking at our bylaws and just being like, oh, we might as well try to like update these things. It's like that's important stuff, but also it's just like, okay, how do we manage our resources to survive or feel like we're still relevant and engaging people maybe virtually or whatever else? And like so that's that idea of like seeing somebody able to guide a commission like this or anything like that through a time where it's just like so many things, so many communities or things just like kind of fizzled out or really just lost all of their momentum or having to kind of start from scratch. It's like it is kind of inspiring to see folks kind of push through that kind of adversity and everything. But and I think that idea that you had such a strong kind of personal professional kind of connection in of like somebody who was a mentor kind of helps bring you into the commission, like a favorite experience, a reflection, something that you learned or obviously like becoming chair, I'm sure was just one of those sort of favorite experiences, like getting this opportunity and everything. But we'll start with you, DeAndre. I guess just like if you reflect on just take this as you will, a favorite experience so far of just being a part of the commission, whether you were chair or not.
Oh, my favorite part. That's a great question. I've had so many fond experiences with CHRL, and I think one, the colleagues that who I'm still connected with, who have become friends. I think that's a favorite experience. But not to sound cliche or simple, but each year I really look forward to looking at all of our sponsor programs or now our endorsed programs because I get the opportunity to see what our colleagues across the country, across the globe, what issues that they're experiencing on their campus and how they will share that with everyone when they come to convention. And so I have so many fond experiences with ACPA. It's been a stronghold. Um, uh, Within my professional journey for the past whatever so many odd years, and I just think over my entire experience with it has been my favorite experience. I don't know if I can pick one, but if I had to, I think it'll be my colleagues um, that have become friends, but also seeing where past directed board members how they advance in their careers as well. Not saying that they got what they got because of CHRL. I am not saying that at all, but to see that they start off and a part of their leadership journey pass through CHRL. We're not going to talk about the countless past chairs of CHRL or Commission 3 that have gone on to be ACPA presidents. We're not going to talk about that. But there is a correlation for all those who are listening. If you become chair of CHRL, you may become president of ACPA. I'm just saying there's a lot of wonderful people who are past chairs. Take a look at our website and you will see all of those wonderful names.
Yeah, very very good plug there. And I think I mean it's definitely that like I imagine that somebody like either of you would have said like just like the people, that idea that like you've been able to make those connections, see where people kind of go from being part of the commission. And because I think that's even just the idea that like there is and hopefully it's sort of done in somewhat of like an intentional way, but the idea of like a natural sort of like transition of like you're always going to be getting new people, and obviously like the chairs are going to cycle and those sort of things, where it's like yeah, you may not be involved at the same level that you were perhaps like a decade ago if you've been sort of part of the directorate or whatever else of the commission. But it's like seeing like people who pass through this are able to build sort of their social capital, build their knowledge, build their experiences, and make strides towards kind of greener pastures, whatever that looks like for them and everything. And maybe become ACPA president, who knows. And I just thought of another interesting question I'm gonna ask after this. So but Leah, favorite experience so far of being a part of the commission?
Well, the first thing that came to mind, honestly, was my first year. It was, like I said, 2013 in Las Vegas, of all places. But my experience that I'm going to bring up is appropriate. But it was like, why are we in Vegas? But it was honestly the first time, I'm on the directorate body. It's my first meeting, and just the general excitement I felt for meeting these people, many of whom have become lifelong friends, but just excited for what the opportunity meant. and just the excitement for the work that I thought I was getting ready to do, and honestly, the opportunity to make an impact into this field that's given me so much. So, just that first year, that initial excitement, we all met and went to some restaurant on the strip, but just that first meeting in the hotel lobby was just very special, because I was just so excited. To be able to go on this journey with the commission. So that is the thing that sticks out most to me.
When I think that that's, I think we're like sort of bolding, circling, highlighting, underlining that, like the point of like, okay, if you can get involved in something like this, that's a more formal, structured kind of like conduit. Because I think again, like some people are just going to be like naturally good at like making friends and connections and networking and all that sort of thing. But like the idea of like you like being a part of the directorate, having this sort of like core group of people that you're working together on, sort of a shared project. Obviously, like it's a very unique one of like a commission within and this national organization of all student affairs professionals and all that, but like it is like, okay, this is directly relevant to my day-to-day work, and it's people who kind of share values and different things like that, and that idea, like that being this catalyst to kind of to what DeAndre was getting at, just like it's the people, it's the network, it's the sort of social capital, it's all these things, like these people that I could sort of like bounce ideas off of, or maybe if I'm looking for a new job, they can maybe be helpful in some number of ways and those sort of things. Like there's just so much benefit to that I think whether you feel like you're sort of naturally good or confident in making those sort of connections, it's like being a part of something like this can be such a helpful way to sort of like streamline or kind of make it more a little bit easier for folks out there. But so before I kind of lose the thread, because you were already kind of imagining this maybe is going to be your answer, as sort of like quick hot take of your favorite ACPA convention that you've been to, because we've had Houston mentioned in passing, Vegas mentioned in passing. I was at that Vegas one as a grad student. That was a great one. Unique, I think, just because of like the structure of it, because like they kind of had it like sort of kind of fractured and like all these little nooks and crannies of the different like hotels and everything. But and I've been to Indianapolis, and since I've gone to like ed tech and stuff, I haven't really been in a while. But I'm curious, yeah, hot take, favorite. You can maybe do like a power ranking if it's okay. I like this one for this reason or this one for another reason, but like favorite ACPA convention, location and all that kind of stuff. But
Okay. Well, my initial reaction as soon as you asked the question was 2016 in Montreal, of all places. But that I, for a variety of reasons, I really, really, really enjoyed the Montreal convention. Second, I'm gonna have to agree with Dr. Taylor there. Nashville. And I mean, I remember the signs. It's like, don't hug, fist bump. It's like, oh gosh, like we're hugging. But I remember the signs and how everything changed so quickly after that. But also, that was my first convention in a while, just because of work obligations. Like, I did other professional development opportunities. So that was my first ACPA convention in a couple of years. So Nashville is on the list. And then I would have to say, my first one, which was 2011 in Louisville. Um, so who knew what the journey that I would be going on after that very first convention of mine? I remember Van Jones was the keynote speaker that year, and then just to watch how the organization has grown and my involvement has grown and just everything has grown from that one little convention in Kentucky.
So I'm going to mention a few, right? I'm going to mention Boston. I enjoyed it. One, because of just all the universities that are there. It's a historic city, so that was cool, right? Um, I did enjoy Nashville, and the reason why I enjoyed Nashville because soon after Nashville, you got home, everything that we knew of life as we knew it changed after that. So Nashville was like this last sense of normalcy for many folks, at least for me. Um, Outside of that, I would say those are like my top two that I really truly enjoyed. I also enjoyed New Orleans, for many reasons. Again, another historic city, and it was cool. It was cool to be there. So those would be my top three that I've been to. I would say Boston, Nashville for the significance, and then of course New Orleans.
Yeah, well, it's so funny. I just went on like a family trip to see some friends in Louisville. It was a great time, and yeah, and I think like that idea of like your first big national, student affairs conference. That I think for a lot of folks holds a lot of significance, and yeah, I mean, I think it gets around to a lot of cool cities. I mean, because I think sometimes certain ones are like certain organizations and their national conferences, depending on like their size. It's like, well, you can only go to like a couple of different cities to be able to accommodate people, and it's like my impression, I feel like ACPA is like pretty nimble. It could kind of like fit into like a lot of different cities, which is great to like, because obviously, yeah, that idea that you can go to like a historic city and like have that as sort of like an avenue to get, other stuff to do. And then like certain cities are just like, I feel like just like fun cities. Like there's just like a lot of cool stuff. I imagine if like they're going to go to like Denver at some point, like I've been there, like I love Denver. If they would, do it there, I feel like folks would have a lot of fun. But yeah, and I think that's part of it is like the that environment and what feels like it's more or less conducive, I guess, to people sort of building those bonds and having like a conference that feels sort of like manageable to navigate and all that. Because I feel like a lot of people probably are like, Vegas was my least favorite. And I'm like, I could absolutely see why you would say that. It was not very intuitive, I feel like. But yeah, so I think that's always just kind of a fun thing for me. I feel like it's like you go to those conferences and be like, I like this. It's like I want more of this, less of that. Or like this city is like my favorite one to go. So I feel like I'll probably feel a little bit more incentive to go to the national convention if it is in one of my like favorite cities. Like for me, that'd be like Baltimore. Love Baltimore. So yeah, yeah. Because a lot of the because I feel like a lot of the conferences like make their way through there, but like I don't like I feel like yeah, NASPA I know has been there, in recent memory, but yeah, yeah.
I feel like I heard Baltimore was on the list. Though. I feel like I know ICA was there not too long ago. But I will add this though, Dustin, if you will. We hear about a lot of fun that ACPA has with the fun experiences, but we also do the work. When we go to convention, and even through commission, CHRL, we do the work. It's not just a conference of seeing your wonderful friends and colleagues, and you come together. Sure, you have that family reunion feel, but don't think the work is shorted in those experiences at all. And meaningful work is done as well. I want to also reiterate that meaningful work about being college student educators is done at ACPA and underscored through CHRL.
Well, yeah, and I think that's like again to the point of like if you're looking for something that can be sort of this like north star for you going into these like huge daunting, I'm sure at times overwhelming conventions for people is like one like the kind of kinship spirit of like okay, the CHRL people like that I maybe have been working with on a directorate or just sort of involved with, and then like you'd mentioned in passing like the endorsed sessions, like that could just be kind of like a through line of like okay, I want to make sure if nothing else, I try to catch those because obviously those are going to be super relevant and have been kind of curated to support me in my work day to day. Yeah, and I think it's obviously you need like good balance. Like you want to yeah have that like sort of family reunion, like fun and sort of reconnecting, sharing coffee and meals with people, but like that only matters in so much as like yeah you do the work, you make sure to find those like kind of like structured opportunities to like learn and grow. And I think yeah, commissions like this one being able to help guide people through the larger kind of experiences like ACPA. But and that I think is a kind of a natural segue to as we're closing out, sort of like advice for others who want to get involved. So if they're kind of starting from scratch, they're hearing us talk, they're like, well, this sounds really amazing. Where do I start? How do I get involved? And we'll start with yeah, DeAndre, if you want to kick us off.
Yeah. I would say, email CHRL. I think is the best way to get involved. We do think about from the perspective of not everyone may not have the financial means to come to convention, and so we want to make sure that we're being accessible through our constituents. If you work in housing and residence life, you are a constituent of CHRL, and so I would say if you want to get involved, the best way that you can is to email us. I'll share that email address here in a second. But then also, when you come to convention, please come to our open business meeting. It's always a great time. We have panels. For the past 4 years, we've had panels that discuss the hot topics that are impacting us within residence life, and then we have a group discussion. We've had some phenomenal discussions over the past couple of years. Some of those highlights include what does it mean when we say residence life? That has a different context from here in the States and from other countries. When we think about historical impact on indigenous populations. So those have been topics that have come up. We've talked greatly about the impact of international students in living on campus and what does that mean. And so I would say the best way to get involved, if you want to get involved, one is to email us. If you don't remember anything else, just remember to email us. And then two, if you're coming to convention, come to our open business meeting because I guarantee you will be able to get involved with CHRL. And our email address is CHRL at ACPA dot NCHE dot EDU.
Perfect. Yeah, and we'll link out. I know there's like a landing page too that has some other information as well. But yeah, good to have that way to contact to like start the conversation. Don't don't overthink it. Just reach out and just like just start doing the thing. So and yeah, Leah, I guess any advice from your perspective of you've kind of now been kind of stepping into being the chair, like advice for getting involved and I guess kind of moving your way up the commission.
Sure. I think it's important to note that, involvement with the CHRL doesn't mean you have to be on the directorate body to be involved with the work that we're doing in the commission. There are numerous ways to be able to connect with us, whether it's through a webinar, whether, it's through some of the like town hall meetings and things that we offer throughout the calendar year, and ways that you can still stay connected to us, even if you don't have the means to be able to travel to convention every year. So, you don't have to start off immediately on directorate body. As you reach out to us and just say that you want to be involved, we can find a place for you to be able to plug into the work that we're doing. So that is what I would add to what has already been stated.
Yeah, I mean that's a good call out. Yeah, 'cause I think so many of these conversations like it kind of obviously like that is your world and your perspective is like being part of the director, part of being chair and all that sort of thing. But like just the idea of like being like on our specific email list to get the heads up about the stuff we're doing. Yeah, just like sitting in the open meetings and like making sort of space for that and yeah, I think that it's good advice. I think for wherever someone is at, to kind of start the conversation, kind of show up, and to just be aware. And as folks are maybe sort of thinking about and making their plans for the national conference next year, recording this in September 2024. People starting to make their plans and stuff. I'm sure. So, but yeah, just really appreciate both of you, the work that you're doing, all that you shared, your reflections and everything, and what ways to connect with the commission and both of you in the description for the episode. But just thanks so much for hanging out, and thank you, DeAndre, for coming back to the show and a rare return guest. So it's always nice.
Thank you very much, Dustin. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.